Every morning, you wake up and the first thing you feel is your knees, that dull, deep ache before you even get out of bed, the stiffness when you try to stand, the way you have to hold the wall or the edge of the dresser just to get yourself upright. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a thought settles in that you've probably heard from a doctor or maybe told yourself, this is just what happens when you get older. But I want to challenge that today. Because in over 30 years of treating patients just like you, I've seen something that most doctors never stop to explain. Knee pain after 60 is almost never just about age. It's about inflammation, chronic, low-grade, ongoing inflammation that's quietly eating away at your joints day after day. And here's what makes this important. Inflammation is something you can actually influence. Starting today. Starting with your very next meal. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 7 specific foods that have real, research-backed evidence for reducing the inflammation behind knee pain. Foods that can help you move with less stiffness, less aching, and a lot more confidence. And make sure you stay with me until the very first food on this list. Because that one, I recommend it to nearly every patient over 60 who sits across from me and says their knees are ruining their life. But before we get into the list, I want to ask you something, and I genuinely mean this. Tell me in the comments below, where is your knee pain worst, and when does it hit you hardest? Is it that grinding stiffness the moment you wake up in the morning before you've even taken a single step? Or is it the heavy, worn-out aching that builds through the day and really sets in by evening? Because in my experience, when your pain peaks actually tells us a lot about what's driving it. Drop it down below. Morning stiffness, evening aching, or honestly, both. I read through the comments on every video, and sometimes just seeing that others are dealing with the exact same thing brings a little bit of comfort. You are not alone in this, and you are not imagining it. Now, let's get into the list. Let's start with something that's probably already sitting in your kitchen, and that most people only think of when they have an upset stomach or a cold: ginger. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Doctor, ginger is just a spice, and I completely understand that reaction. For years, ginger was dismissed in mainstream medicine as a folk remedy, something grandmothers swore by but scientists hadn't taken seriously. That has changed significantly. Here's what's actually happening inside your body when you consume ginger regularly. Your knee pain is largely driven by specific inflammatory chemicals called prostaglandins. These are the same chemicals that over-the-counter painkillers like ibuprofen work to block. What researchers discovered is that the active compounds in ginger, particularly gingerols and shogaols, inhibit the exact same inflammatory pathway. Naturally and without the side effects that long-term anti-inflammatory medication can cause on your stomach and kidneys. A clinical study published in Arthritis and Rheumatism found that patients who took ginger extract twice daily experienced significantly reduced knee pain compared to those who didn't. Not marginal results, meaningful, noticeable relief. In practical terms, this doesn't need to be complicated. Fresh ginger grated into warm water every morning is enough to get started. Add it to soups, stir it into meals, or steep it as tea. Even half a teaspoon daily makes a difference over time. Small habit. Real impact on your knees. Now let's talk about tart cherries. And I want you to pay close attention here, especially if your knee pain tends to flare up suddenly, feels hot or swollen, or seems to get dramatically worse after certain meals. Most seniors who come to me with that kind of knee pain have been told it's arthritis and sent home with a prescription. But there's another factor that often goes completely unexamined: uric acid. When uric acid builds up in the bloodstream, it forms sharp, microscopic crystals that deposit directly into your joints, your knees, your ankles, your toes, and the pain it causes can be genuinely debilitating. What makes tart cherries so remarkable is that they address this specific problem in a way very few foods can. Tart cherries are extraordinarily rich in a group of antioxidants called anthocyanins, the same compounds that give them their deep red color. Research from the University of California found that consuming tart cherry juice twice daily lowered uric acid levels in the blood measurably within just a few weeks. On top of that, those same anthocyanins actively suppress inflammatory markers associated with joint swelling and cartilage breakdown. Think of them as a two-front solution, calming the inflammation already present while simultaneously clearing out one of the hidden triggers your doctor may never have mentioned. A small glass of tart cherry juice daily, or a handful of dried tart cherries with breakfast, is genuinely enough to start seeing a shift. Your knees will feel the difference. Now we're moving into territory that I find genuinely exciting, because this next food is one that almost every senior I've ever treated has underestimated completely. Not because they dislike it, but because they never imagined something this simple could have such a direct impact on what's happening inside their knee joint. Walnuts. Here's what most people don't know. Inside your knee, surrounding the cartilage and the bones, is a delicate tissue lining that produces something called synovial fluid. Think of it as your joint's natural lubricant, the substance that allows your knee to bend, flex, and bear weight without grinding and friction. When inflammation takes hold, that lining becomes damaged, the fluid thickens, and movement becomes painful and stiff. Walnuts are one of the richest plant-based sources of omega-3 fatty acids available, specifically a form called ALA, which your body converts into powerful anti-inflammatory compounds. These compounds work directly on that joint lining, helping to reduce swelling, restore healthier fluid production, and protect the cartilage tissue underneath from further breakdown. A study published in the Journal of Nutrition found that regular walnut consumption measurably reduced several key inflammatory markers in the blood, the same markers elevated in people with chronic joint pain. And the practical side of this couldn't be simpler. A small handful of walnuts, roughly 7 to 10, eaten daily is all it takes. With breakfast, as an afternoon snack, or stirred into oatmeal, that's it. Consistent, simple, and genuinely protective for your knees. This next one is where I want to slow down for a moment, because what I'm about to share is something that gets almost no attention in mainstream conversations about joint pain. And yet, in my clinical experience, it's one of the most significant nutritional deficiencies I see in seniors who are struggling with their knees. Leafy greens, spinach, kale, Swiss chard, collard greens. Now here's the part most people miss. These vegetables are among the best dietary sources of vitamin K, and vitamin K plays a role in joint health that is quietly critical. Here's why. Cartilage, the cushioning tissue inside your knee, doesn't just wear down from friction. It breaks down when specific proteins responsible for protecting it stop working properly. Vitamin K is essential for activating those proteins. Without adequate levels, cartilage loses a layer of its natural defense, becoming more vulnerable to the inflammatory damage that causes pain and stiffness. Research published in Arthritis and Rheumatism found that people with low vitamin K levels had significantly higher rates of cartilage loss and knee pain progression compared to those with healthy levels. And the majority of adults over 60, through diet alone, are simply not getting enough. Beyond vitamin K, leafy greens deliver a broad spectrum of antioxidants that directly neutralize the free radicals driving inflammation in your joint tissue. 2 generous handfuls daily, in a salad, lightly sautéed or blended into a smoothie, is enough to start rebuilding that protection your cartilage has quietly been missing. We're now entering the top 3. And I want you to feel that shift, because from here on, the foods we're talking about have some of the strongest, most consistent research behind them of anything I'll share in this entire video. Food number 3 is fatty fish. Salmon, sardines, mackerel, herring. Let me explain what's happening inside your knee at a deeper level, because understanding this will change the way you think about what you eat. Deep within your joint tissue, there are signaling molecules called cytokines. When your immune system detects damage or irritation in the knee, it releases these cytokines to trigger inflammation. In a healthy, younger joint, that response is temporary. It does its job and settles down. But in a senior's knee, particularly one with arthritis or cartilage wear, that inflammatory signal never fully switches off. It becomes chronic, constant. And it's this persistent, low-level inflammation that is the true source of your daily pain and stiffness. The omega-3 fatty acids in fatty fish, specifically EPA and DHA, work at the cellular level to directly suppress those cytokine signals. Not mask them, not temporarily dull them. Actually reduce the inflammatory activity driving your pain. A landmark study in the Annals of Rheumatic Diseases found that patients who consumed fatty fish regularly reported significantly less joint tenderness, reduced morning stiffness, and a measurable decrease in their need for anti-inflammatory medication. 2 to 3 servings per week is the clinical sweet spot. Grilled, baked, or even canned sardines and salmon work equally well. The omega-3 content remains fully intact. This is one of the most powerful dietary changes you can make for your knees. Full stop. Before we get into the final 2 foods, and these are the most powerful ones on this entire list, I want to take just a brief moment. If what you're hearing today is genuinely helping you see your knee pain differently, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. I publish new videos every single week, specifically for people over 60 who want real answers, not just learn to live with it. You deserve better than that. And if you know someone whose knees are slowing them down, please share this video with them. It might be exactly what they needed to hear today. Now, food number 2. This one is already in most kitchens, and almost nobody knows what it's quietly capable of. We're down to the final 2, and I promise you these last foods are worth every minute you've spent watching this video. Food number 2 is something sitting in the kitchens of millions of people right now, being used simply to cook with, completely unaware of what it's actually capable of doing for their joints. Extra virgin olive oil. Here's the science, and I want you to really hear this. Researchers at the Monell Chemical Senses Center discovered that extra virgin olive oil contains a naturally occurring compound called oleocanthal. And when they analyzed how oleocanthal behaves inside the body, what they found was remarkable. It inhibits the exact same inflammatory enzymes, COX-1 and COX-2, that ibuprofen targets. The same pathway, the same mechanism. Except this is happening through your food, naturally, every single day. They even calculated the equivalency. About 3.5 tablespoons of high-quality extra virgin olive oil delivers an anti-inflammatory effect comparable to roughly 10% of the standard adult ibuprofen dose. That might not sound dramatic, but consider the effect of that happening consistently at every meal, day after day. The cumulative impact on chronic knee inflammation is genuinely significant. Beyond oleocanthal, olive oil is rich in oleic acid and powerful antioxidants that further protect joint tissue from oxidative damage, the kind of cellular wear that accelerates cartilage breakdown in seniors. 2 to 3 tablespoons daily is all you need. Drizzled over vegetables, used as your primary cooking oil, or mixed simply with lemon over a salad. This is ancient medicine sitting in a bottle on your counter. And here we are, food number 1. I've been in clinical practice for over 30 years. I have sat across from hundreds of patients, men and women in their 60s, 70s, 80s, who walked through my door barely able to climb a flight of stairs, who had stopped taking their morning walks, who had quietly given up activities they loved because their knees had simply become too painful to cooperate. And when I talk about nutrition with these patients, there is one food I come back to more than any other. One compound with more research, more clinical evidence, and more real-world results behind it than almost anything else I can recommend without a prescription. Turmeric. And specifically, its active compound, curcumin. Let me explain exactly why this is so powerful. Remember those inflammatory cytokines we talked about with the fatty fish? The signaling molecules that keep your joint in a constant state of irritation? There is a specific master switch in your body that controls the production of those cytokines. It's called NF-κB. And in people with chronic knee pain, that switch is essentially stuck in the on position. Curcumin, found abundantly in turmeric, directly targets and suppresses NF-κB activity. It goes to the root of the inflammatory process, not the symptoms sitting on top of it. A rigorous clinical trial published in the Journal of Medicinal Food compared curcumin supplementation directly against ibuprofen in patients with knee osteoarthritis. The results showed comparable pain relief, with curcumin producing significantly fewer gastrointestinal side effects. For seniors whose stomachs can't tolerate long-term anti-inflammatory medication, this is genuinely life-changing information. But here is the critical detail that most people get completely wrong. Curcumin on its own is poorly absorbed by the body. It passes through your digestive system without being fully utilized, unless you combine it with black pepper. Black pepper contains a compound called piperine, which increases curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%. That combination is not optional, it is essential. A quarter teaspoon of turmeric with just a small pinch of black pepper, stirred into warm water, added to soups, or mixed with olive oil, which itself further enhances absorption, taken daily, consistently, is enough to create a meaningful shift in your knee inflammation over time. This is not a quick fix. Nothing honest ever is. But patients who commit to this consistently tell me the same thing. Within 4 to 6 weeks, mornings feel different. Getting up feels different. Walking feels different. Not because something masked their pain, because something actually began to change beneath it. That is the power of food working with your body, not against it. Now, before I let you go, I want to give you something extra, because knowing which foods to add is only half the picture. The other half is understanding what might be quietly undoing all of that progress without you even realizing it. 3 things I want every senior watching this to take seriously. First, seed oils and refined sugar. Vegetable oils like corn oil, sunflower oil, and soybean oil are extraordinarily high in omega-6 fatty acids, which directly promote the same inflammatory pathways the foods on our list are working to calm. Refined sugar does the same thing. It triggers inflammatory cytokine production within hours of consumption. You don't have to be perfect, but reducing these 2 things consistently will allow everything else we discussed today to work significantly better. Second, hydration. Your knee cartilage is approximately 70% water. When you're chronically underhydrated, which most seniors are because the thirst sensation weakens with age, that cartilage loses its ability to absorb impact properly and friction increases. 8 glasses of water daily is the minimum. Your joints are quite literally depending on it. Third, and this one is important, combine turmeric, black pepper, and extra virgin olive oil together whenever possible. Each one individually is powerful. Together they create a level of curcumin absorption that no single ingredient can achieve alone. This trio works synergistically in a way that genuinely amplifies everything. Small, consistent choices. That's what rebuilds a life with less pain. Now I have one last question for you, and I genuinely want to hear your answer. Out of everything we covered today, which food surprised you the most? And which one are you going to add to your meals first? Starting this week? Drop it in the comments below. Whether it's turmeric, olive oil, tart cherries, or something else entirely, tell me. I read through every single comment on this channel, and your experience matters. And if you're already eating some of these foods, let me know if you've noticed a difference. Your story might be exactly the encouragement someone else needs today. And if you found real value in this video, share it with someone you care about. A spouse, a friend, a sibling, someone whose knees are slowing them down. Sometimes the right information at the right moment changes everything. Because here's what I want you to carry with you today. Your knees are not simply worn out. Your body, at any age, has a remarkable capacity to respond, to heal, and to improve. You just gave it a reason to start.